Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Nathalie Saunderson, and this is a little introduction for any of you new subscribers who might not know me personally. And I have been teaching and into yoga for many, many years. At this point, I continue to get the number wrong, but my journey with yoga began when I was about 16. And I am shooting the majority of these videos at this point from our beautiful home in Bali, Indonesia. But my history and my story really begins quite a long time ago in a very different setting. And the way that this channel came to life was really through the years of different studies from different styles of yoga and the desire to be having more conversations around what yoga brings up in your life. And it brings up so much more than addressing that achy shoulder or that, injury you're rehabbing or the stress you might be aware you're feeling. It usually, if you continue to practice, brings you towards all the parts of yourself that either no longer fit or weren't yours to begin with. And through this process, I don't even like calling it refinement anymore. It's really about becoming and integrating. And the yoga practice has so many, 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 many gifts to offer us at this point in our lives. But one of the biggest ones is that it's really a tool that I use and I hope to teach through this channel about getting to know yourself better. And in order to get to know yourself better, it really is about sometimes getting to know what is no longer yours to carry your focus on. And it may sound simple, but there are ways that we can become more energetically aware of how our thoughts, our feelings, and our associations in the world around us actually shape the experience we have in our lives. And so, what we practice on the mat is kind of the first mirroring example of what we can then practice off the mat. So, when we build an intention and placement and integrity and alignment on the mat, that often looks like also creating the same structures and values off the mat. And I'm the first person to say that there are really no rules around how you should be living as a yogi, because it's really your definition of what feels the most aligned with you when you're truly, truly listening within. Now, that's very open to interpretation, but I do believe that everybody at their core has a knowing and an inner knowing that can direct you very smoothly through life should you develop the relationship and conversation with that voice. I hope in this channel there's something that you find that speaks to you. I will be doing a lot of breaking down of different postures, different aspects and elements of the practice. And my vision is to really offer you many different styles of yoga for you to browse, do a little bit of experimenting, practice, refinement of your own asana. And then should you choose to want to train further with me, you can visit my website, nathaliesaunderson.com, or my Patreon page at Nathalie Saunderson. Thank you so much for your time and being here, and I wish you a beautiful day. Namaste. Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Nathalie Saunderson, and for all of you new subscribers, I wanted to share a little bit about my journey, where I'm coming from, and what this channel is really about. So I am shooting the majority of these videos at this point from my home in Bali, Indonesia. But my yoga journey begins much, much further back. And as someone who started pretty much in my late teens to be interested in all things spiritual, connection, health and wellness related, my life naturally took me towards becoming a yoga teacher. And I have taught in some of the biggest studios, packed classes for many, many years, multiple classes a week in Vancouver, Canada, where I am so blessed to say that we had the privilege of experiencing so many different teachers and influences and styles that I soaked in. And so this channel is not really about a certain way of doing yoga. It's really about creating a library for people to use and possibly explore other ways to practice or to utilize the many, many different aspects of yoga. So, from where I sit in looking at yoga these days, for me, yoga is really the journey of you becoming the most full and complete version of you. Now, I no longer think this is about getting anywhere. I think this has a lot to do with integrating and releasing a lot of ways that no longer either serve you or you have outgrown. And some of us have very different journeys that look, like different lengths and take different form on the outside. But to be honest, I feel like the inner journey is very, very similar. It has very similar themes it's going to ask you to look at. It's going to ask you to look at your relationships, relationship to everything, to people, to your own thoughts, to the way you treat your body, to your health, to the way that you set up moving through life and achieving things. Everything that you do usually comes back to the way that you're approaching your practice and the way that you support yourself in practice. And so, what you practice on the mat is always mirroring tools that you can then take off the mat to address other areas of your life. And one of the things that ceases to continue to amaze me is that when you show up, there is a force that often will meet you in that space. So, very few times have I ever started practicing yoga and wish I hadn't started practicing. It takes you towards and in moving in a direction that feels more connected or honest and authentic with whatever it is that you're going through. And regardless of how crummy that might feel in the moment or, amazingly inspiring, it's still affirming to the self to know that you're showing up for yourself. You're showing up for yourself physically. You're showing up for your breath. You're understanding where your emotions are at, maybe where your thoughts are at. You're showing up for yourself in a very different way than most other activities. And so this channel is really about breaking down some postures, breaking down some ideas around what yoga is, and also reworking some of those ideas about what spirituality has been portrayed as versus you starting to really begin to understand and trust your relationship to this practice. I hope there's something in these little short videos that serves you. If you would like to practice further together, then feel free to visit my website at nataliesaunderson.com or my Patreon page, Nathalie Saunderson. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste. Hello and welcome to my yoga channel. I'm Nathalie Saunderson. Thank you for being here. This video is really for the new subscribers that might not know very much about me and maybe stumbled across this channel. And so these videos are an accumulation of many, many years of yoga practice, yoga teaching, and also a lot of personal development that I've done on my own. And my vision, my overarching vision for this channel is not to necessarily pare down into a niche or one type of yoga. It's really to open up the book of using many different modalities that speak to you at different times in your life. And so knowing that because you are a person who's likely, like me, going to be growing through this practice, you might find that at different times, different things speak to you. And so my vision is to create as many small videos that can break down either postures, parts of the practice, ways that we can utilize the practice, and just a general understanding of things that come up for us when we have a yoga practice. And one of the things that is most important to me is relationships and the relationships that I have. One, first with myself and my body, but two, starting to extend that relationship to the way I interact with the world. And you will find that quite often, a lot of the realizations you might make through your yoga practice is really about what is true for me in this moment and what isn't, right? And that brings you so much closer to who you genuinely are and relieves you from a lot of the things that people often suffer from when they start yoga, which would be stress, pressure, depression, sometimes low energy, sometimes lack of clarity. And these are all natural things to experience in life, but what we do about them is in your hands. And the yoga practice is a tool that we now have that we can continue to apply to ourselves in different ways at different times to help us alchemize and process what's going on for ourselves in our lives. I hope there's something in these short videos that you find useful, that serves your path. If you have any questions or are curious about any elements of the practice, whether it's the physical practice, the philosophy, the meditation aspect, an element of the practice, anything at all, please feel free to shoot me a little message. I'd love to create a video for you. If you're keen to find more about my work, you can also head to my website at nataliesaunderson.ca or my Patreon page at Nathalie Saunderson. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste.